So first of all, congratulations to the women's basketball program at my alma mater, the University of South Carolina. The Gamecocks won their second national championship in the last 6 years last night. Destani Henderson, 26 points, a career high. Can't beat that in your final game as a South Carolina player, career high in the national championship. Pretty impressive. Unfortunately, Henderson's exploits and the exploits of this amazing program kind of plays second fiddle to some politics. And I wanted to talk briefly about that because I covered it over the weekend and then covered it again today in the review of the championship game. So what happened? Well, during the national semifinal game, the Gamecock program, coaches, players, everybody stayed in the locker room. They did not come out for the national anthem prior to that national semifinal game against Louisville. And this is something that's been happening in South Carolina in the women's basketball program for the last 2.5 years, essentially. Players have stayed in the locker room or they've kneeled or sat during the national anthem. And again, I have no problem with that. That's their right to do that. I'm a libertarian, people. You can protest the national anthem. You can burn the flag, in my view. You have those freedoms, okay? It's a little odd to avail yourself of those freedoms while dogging out the anthem of the country that upholds them. But again, that's what that freedom's there for, people. You have that right, and I support them in that right. However, I also support the right of consumers in the marketplace and in the marketplace of ideas to respond to those kind of protests, particularly when those protests are, quite frankly, full of it. And Dawn Staley, let's give her credit. She's the best basketball coach in the country. And notice I didn't distinguish between men and women. I think she's the best coach in the country. She's building a dynasty at South Carolina, the likes of which, going to rival the UConn dynasty. In fact, they knocked off UConn for that championship. So watch out for what they do in the future. But Staley continues to muddle things with this hypocritical, inconsistent brand of wokeness. And I want to tell you a little bit what I'm talking about. Let's rewind the tape back to 2017 after the Gamecocks won the national championship that year. Staley was asked after that game, will you go to the White House? Again, this is right after Donald Trump became president, when the mainstream media attempt to demonize him, successful attempt, and in some cases Trump helped them. But she said, yes, we will go to the White House because that's what champions do. And I had tremendous respect for her when she said that, because she was kind of going up against that whole woke movement saying, yes, we're going to go to the White House because we won the national championship. That's what you do, right? Well, fast forward a few months later, Staley flip-flopped on that. And her team declined an invitation to the White House. I guess the woke police got to her. So, again, inconsistent. Just if you're going to do it, right? Don't flip-flop. Don't waffle. Let's go back to last fall when Dawn Staley was rewarded for her efforts with a massive salary increase, a $22.4 million deal over 7 years, almost $3 million a year. Just a huge contract, well-deserved. Not going to argue that. But with the ink barely dry on that contract, Staley goes on camera and basically says that both the state and the school, which just gave her this massive contract, have a rich history of racism. Again, I'm not going to argue that historically. But I was at the University of South Carolina. I was at Williams-Brice Stadium the night that Dawn Staley was awarded the Order of the Palmetto in front of about 85,000 screaming fans, and I stood up and cheered for her, right? So again, I don't understand why everything's got to be pitting people against each other. Can we not just celebrate this woman's accomplishments? And in fact, that's what I wrote last fall. Why can't we just, why can't we just celebrate Dawn Staley's achievements without it having to be divisive and racial and everybody getting mad at each other? I don't understand it. But that's another problem I have is don't, take this huge pay raise and then call the people that gave it to you a bunch of racists. It just seemed bad form to me. Also, I found it odd that Staley referred to the raise as progressive. Again, I don't understand that. She's making $2.1 million a year before the raise. So how does an $800,000 a year raise to a government-funded employee who's making millions of dollars in one of the poorest states in America? I don't understand how that's progressive. But again, maybe that's just me. But the national anthem stuff is what really irked me, and not, again, because I disagree with what they're doing. That's their right. I personally wouldn't do it, but I don't judge them for doing it. But here's the problem. When Staley was called out for it this week, instead of taking ownership, instead of pointing back to all the statements that she and her players have given over the last 2.5 years about how they were doing it for social justice and that they were doing it to improve the lot of Black Americans, we didn't hear any of that when they came out and stood for the anthem in front of the national game. Instead, we were given the excuse from Coach Staley that, it was a scheduling issue, that it was a timing issue, that they didn't come out for the anthem the last time because it interfered with their pregame ritual, and that was why they didn't do it in other games leading up to the championship. Folks, that's BS. That's BS. I don't know who told Staley and her team to come out for the anthem. Maybe it was the trustees, maybe it was the athletics director, but somebody did. And they did. And again, I don't blame them for that either. But just be consistent. Just be consistent. And don't attack people for criticizing you. Again, you're on this stage, you avail yourself of this stage. Don't attack people when they criticize you. And that's exactly what she did. She called all the folks who criticized them for not coming out for the anthem racist. In the state newspaper, by the way, which is, again, the microphone for this woke movement in South Carolina. So again, proud of my alma mater, proud of that program. They deserve all the accolades they're getting. But once again, incredibly disappointed in Dawn Staley for politicizing a moment and making a moment that should have been about people coming together in support of this amazing team and this amazing accomplishment. Once again, making it about division and about deepening division in this country. South Carolina can do better, and I certainly hope that the head coach of the women's basketball program at South Carolina remembers that the next time that she flip-flops on one of these social justice statements.